Dan, I got to tell you, man, we face into this all the time, and it's literally a case of you can't be human if you just play in the tech space, and if you do all of this automation or you go and use AI and you do all this, it loses, Steve. It loses the human element. It's not me anymore. People are going to see right through it. They're not going to trust me. And yes, if you just copy and paste whatever the tech or the AI or the amazing efficiencies that you get, if you just copy and paste it, of course it's going to sound robotic. Of course it's going to sound like it's not you. But human-centered automation, human-centered AI, it can absolutely like change the game on you. But it's a case of, I think the thing that they hate the most is the fact that they don't sound like themselves, or it sounds less human and it might damage their brand. But what that really just comes down to is that mindset shift of being willing to embrace the tool and the tech, but also learning the tech a little bit more than just the surface level. I think if more people were able to really embrace the tech and go down the rabbit hole just a little bit, or go and hang out with cool people like us and help them a little bit, sort of wade their way through the weeds bit, they'll be able to, really grasp the concept a little bit more and be able to produce outputs that are much more human centered, and obviously then get the benefits of the efficiency gains as well.
I started doing webinars all the way back in 2013.
Yeah, love
And I went to a course. They told me I was going to become a millionaire, and I
it.
started to put money into Facebook ads. And
Yeah.
back then, the leads were about $1.
Hmm.
And so I invested $1,500 into my first campaign, and I had 1,500 people coming to my first webinar.
Boom.
And it was the most incredible thing. And so I logged on at 8 p.m. and nobody showed up. And I was absolutely devastated. It was like getting rejected by one person is bad enough,
Yes.
but 1,500 people not showing up. And so I was at this crossroads. What do I do? Do I stop the webinar
Hmm.
or do I proceed? So I proceeded as if there was 1,500 people there,
Beautiful. Beautiful.
and I kept the replay. And I put the replay out there on YouTube, and nobody watched it. So the rejection sat in. And over the years, it became more challenging. And even with the introduction of AI, I noticed that even the marketers that I was working with,
Mm.
they started to give me new scripts. And on the script, it would say, Daniel Tolson turns to the camera, lean forward. I was like,
Super
okay,
good.
something's changed here.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
doing that hundreds of times left a really bad taste in my mouth. It was very frustrating. It was so foreign to me. But
Yeah.
really, what I was missing was a really good guide like yourself, somebody to prepare me for the digital world instead of just getting hammered for a decade.
Yeah, look,
But
there's a
it's
graveyard.
undoubtedly,
Sorry, mate. It's
yeah,
all good.
tell me
There's
about
a
the
graveyard.
graveyard.
There's a
I
graveyard
felt
of
like I was digging my own grave.
let's dig together. But there's a graveyard of content that has never been seen by people. But I think again that limiting mindset that we come in is that if you embrace it, when we talk to people about running Zooms or pimping their Zooms or making their webinars more effective and engaging, it's like if you're going to deliver live, you should deliver live because it's the most sort of gutsy and hard date thing that you must do. But if you deliver to no one, you press the record button anyway and you pretend like you're delivering to a live audience, and then you use the replay, and then you use technology like email reminders and automations to help people show up because people are busy, right? And then after the replay, you send it out and then you put it up on LinkedIn. Then you use all this cool tech to cut your hour-long webinar into 20, 30-second pieces of content that you can then repurpose out into the world. So there's that efficiency thing again. And just because no one showed up doesn't mean that that content's not going to see the light of day. It just might not be in the format that you originally thought was going to make you six figures in 6 seconds, like those guys, 20 years ago told you were going to happen, you know?
That was the reality for me.
Mm.
I knew that I had to press record, and I knew I had to do something with it. And I
Yep.
didn't really know what repurposing was at that stage, but I knew something had to follow that because I'd invested time and resources, but I didn't get my return.
Yep.
And so that was 2013. And over the following 2 years, I took all of that content and I did webinar after webinar.
Yeah.
And I must admit, it was great content. And I knew it was great content because I'd actually watch it myself and go, you know what? I'd actually watch that and enjoy it. And if only I learned from it, it's a bonus. So I took that and I repurposed it, and I discovered that was the word. And albeit I made no money from those webinars, I gained about $100,000 in clients when I put that exact transcript in a book.
There you go.
And business people picked up the book and went, this is what we want. And they
Yep.
started to sign up for $25,000 programs.
Bingo.
And so I knew there was a disconnect between the front end and the back end. And I discovered that that was repurposing, and it was quite scary at the start. But as I look back, it was some of the most valuable work that I've ever done.
Fantastic.
And I think so
That's
many
right.
business people have to adopt that. And it really is the future of business. And business is changing. We've changed significantly through COVID. And now as businesses start to grow, they've got to start to employ once again.
Yes.
But as they employ, they face the challenge of doing a really good onboarding and induction. So based on this technology and the work that you're doing, what's the future of business onboardings and inductions?
Yeah, look, the future is so bright if you're in this space and if you're willing to adopt it, right? So you've got this opportunity, onboarding induction. It's one of the most important opportunities to make a great first impression in order to retain staff and to show them that you give a shit about them. I remember one of the few jobs I had before I started working for myself about 16 years ago. I'd rock up on day one, keen as a bean, 30 minutes early. You know, I've got my shirt on, my tie, pumped. I rock up to the reception. Who are you? Oh, you're starting today. Oh, shit, Jimmy's not in. He's not in the office today. We're going to have to, can you just sit here for the day and you just photocopy this stuff for us? Like, miserable experience. I was out 2 weeks later. Like, that was just, you lost me. You couldn't even show me the respect to be there on the day that I started. So using technology in the induction and onboarding side of things allows you to streamline the process. It allows you to make the process consistent as well. So it means that everybody that comes through is going to receive a welcome email. Everyone that comes through is going to receive access to your policies and procedures training. Everyone that comes through is going to get the code of conduct or the company culture, or it's going to be able to book a meeting with the CEO or their manager or meet their team, all those sort of things. Now, where technology is so great is that repurposing example that you said, because just because you think that the webinar format is really good doesn't mean that everyone's going to want to consume video. They might want to read it. So when you said that the book worked, hey, you shoot the video, you take the transcript out of it, you've got a book. You've got the text. Hey, you take a video, you strip the audio out of it, you've got a podcast that people can listen to in their cars. So a great example would be we did an induction program for a real estate agency, and majority of the real estate agents don't go into the office. Where do they live? They live in their cars on the way to open for inspection. So what we created is we got the director of the agency to put together a little masterclass that could be played in the car via Bluetooth. What are the 10 steps to making a really great first impression for an open home? Boom, away you go. It's a case of, again, identifying what are the must-haves in the induction process or the onboarding process, what's the must-know stuff for your audience, and then thinking about, from their perspective, what would be the most effective way for them to consume it. So it might be, in the construction space is a perfect example, or manufacturing. You wouldn't put them on a computer. You would want to have these bad boys and a QR code placed on a piece of machinery. You scan it, it opens up a video or it opens up an image and it says, this is what you must and must not do. Click here to sign that you've done this, and boom, it updates the Excel spreadsheet and you've got records that Steve's done his safety induction on the machine that could cut his arm off. You know, super simple stuff like that. But it sounds complex, but it's not. It's again, hanging out with the right people that know how to make this simple. And our clients, Dan, they basically provide the what, the why, and the how. And then what we specialize in is we specialize in the way. What's the most effective way to make it engaging and interactive for the learner, for the consumer of the content?
I'm thinking about a client at the moment, and you mentioned real estate. And for the first time last month, they went to digital inductions.
Awesome.
And by having their content digital, they didn't have to wait to day one to do the onboarding. The onboarding started in that 4-week period where they found talent, the talent handed in their resignation, the talent did all the onboarding in the 4 weeks and then launched on day one.
Bingo.
They didn't have to do any photocopying like Steve. Johnny showed up to the office and they were good to go. So that learning curve, they had gone through the learning curve, and by the end of week one, because of the digital learning, they were already in the growth phase.
Yeah.
Week
Love.
2, I spoke to the business owner and he was almost in tears. He said, "This is the best onboarding we've ever done."
It
He
is.
said it was so easy and there was no heartache. He said, "This person started, they're already in the growth phase."
Yep.
And that really transformed their business. I'm also thinking about other businesses that we operate with, and they've got these huge workforces. And one of the challenges for them is there's multiple languages. English is not the business language. It might be the trade language, but the business language can be Vietnamese, Cambodian, Chinese, Indonesian, and a
Yep.
plethora of other things. Can this technology work for them? Because I love this idea of scanning a QR code
Oh,
and then they're at the machine, they're learning kinesthetically, they're right there. Can
yep.
it help a business like that?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And this is where if you're not on the tech bandwagon, this will be the one that gets you there, right? So there's an app and here it is, right? You don't even need to bring us in to help you do this. It's called Captions. It's on iPhone and I think it's on Android, but I use iPhone anyway. Captions app, you shoot a video and then it renders and then you can pick the subtitle language and AI will auto translate and put the relevant language captions on your videos that are portrait style so that it fits perfectly for playing on a phone like that. You take that video and then it needs a house. It needs somewhere to live in order to be able to be tracked and measured and confirm that someone's consumed it. That's the learning management system aspect of the inductions, onboarding, safety, compliance, the tick in the box. But fundamentally, you shoot a video, let the tech transcribe it for you in the languages that you want. And again, think of that from a scalability perspective. The biggest risk is what happens if the person that knows how to do this job quits today? What's going to happen to that knowledge? If you haven't captured it digitally and saved it in the business where it's free to do while they're the employee of your business, it's going to cost you a bloody fortune when they're gone to bring them back, even if you could, to capture that knowledge. So digitizing the knowledge in a business is a great way to protect knowledge capital, which in some cases is the thing that makes a business valuable. So there you go. Absolutely doable.
Well, the true cost is 5 to 6 times the talent's annual salary. So if you hire somebody and you're paying them 100 grand and they quit, the true cost to the business is $500,000. Because whilst you're training them, whilst you're onboarding them, whilst you're inducting them, you're not performing in your role and
Correct.
your performance suffers. If you're onboarding a new person and that role has been vacant, that role is producing no results.
Yep.
And then after your experience, they quit after a few days, you've got to go back through the recruitment process.
Yep.
And the average number of days is it takes 100 days to recruit a new person in your business.
Yep.
And if you think about it, there's going to be 28 days just in that period by the time they resign from their previous job and start with you. But to be able to find someone in today's market, you've got to sift through 250 CVs.
Yep.
You've got to speak to at least 250 candidates. 235 of those people won't be suitable.
That's right.
15 need to be interviewed at least once or twice. And then when you find your final person and make them the offer, 50% of people say no. So even though you find talent doesn't guarantee that you're going to secure talent.
Yep.
And now if you've spent hours and days and weeks inducting and you've had to do it off the top of the mind, now you've got to do it all over again.
Exactly right. And will it be the same experience?
Give
Like
me a
that's the
QR
thing.
code.
It's not gonna be the same experience either. So you're gonna have Jimmy, Jason, and Sandy. They'll all have three very different onboarding experiences. One of them might be positive, but if you induct someone on a Monday, you're a very different person on Monday than you are on Thursday. And when I used to facilitate workshops on a daily or multi-daily basis, my Mondays were terrible. My Tuesdays were getting better. Wednesday afternoon was the sweet spot, and then I was checked out for the weekend. So anyone that got me either side of Wednesday afternoon didn't get the optimal experience until I figured out that I could record my presentation in the best version possible, and everyone got the benefit of me being on my A game. That's again the power of this digitalization of knowledge capital. It's truly mythical and magical, and secretly it's achievable to everyone just by the virtue of the magical Loom, Loom. If you don't know what that is, Google it, install it, and start shooting videos for free. It doesn't cost you anything. You just press go and you're away. It's amazing.
I think we're very clear on how it transforms a business. And
Mm.
I think I'm getting more clarity about how it can transform a relationship.
Yeah.
Because my wife walks into my office and she says, how do I use the microphone? How do I use the roadcaster? How do I turn the camera on? And I'm thinking I should just pre-record all this so I don't have to answer it every single day.
There you go. We can create a
My
Daniel.
marriage will be so much better. Wife, you've done the induction.
That's it.
You're
Tick,
competent. Away
tick.
you go.
That's the assessment. Absolutely.
In your opinion, what would you say is the most valuable skill to develop to guarantee success in the future?
Yeah, and it's the opposite of everything that we've talked about right now today so far. So everything is going in the tech, the AI, the efficiency, the automation space. So the skill that I see day in day out is it's getting more and more difficult to figure out whether or not you're interacting with a human. So if you can deliver and develop and harness the soft skills, so it used to be soft skills training, now it's just mandatory skills. If you can build rapport, if you can communicate, connect, empathize, and build those core skills in 2023 and beyond, you will be unbeatable by technology, because that's the thing that AI and tech can't do. It can't be you. It can take pieces of you and like do little bits and make it easier for you, but nothing connects better with another human than a human who has the ability and the skill set to connect and empathize and build that rapport and relationship. So for me, I'd be tripling down on building those skills so that you can then use those to inject into the amazing efficiency gains that you're going to get with technology. But yeah, soft skills every day of the week from here on in, for sure.